This is Gemara Baba Kama Daf Pei Beis, and we're holding on Pei Aleph Amid Beis on the last medium-sized line, and we just finished discussing the 10 conditions, the 10 Tanayim that Yeshua made as Klal Yisrael entered into Eretz Yisrael. Today the Gemara begins by asking, V'su Leka, are there no other conditions? Is it really only these 10? V'hayika, but there are indeed others, dear Rabbi Yehuda. What about the stipulation of Rabbi Yehuda de Tanya? We learned in a Braisa. Where's the highlight? There it is. Rabbi Yehuda, Omer b'shas. Ha'itzas zavalim, at the time one takes out the manure, garbage, other moitzi, zavalim, Rishus Rabim. He's allowed to take out the refuse to Rishus Rabim, Mitzaybroi, and pile it up, kol shleishim, for 30 days. Why? Kidei, so that she nishov beragle adam or beragle behema, so that it should be trampled upon and trodden on by the feet of the animal and the feet of people. Why? Shalmanas Cain, because this was one of the conditions, says Rabbi Yehuda. So we see clearly another one of the conditions of Yeshua. And the Gemara asks again. That was question number 1. Question number 2. As we learned on the second white line. Tanai Bezdin, who it was the stipulation of Bezdin that one is allowed to go into the field of his friend and cut down the branches of his friend lahatzil nachil shaloi, in order to save the swarm of bees that flew into the neighbor's field and settled on that. And then what do you do? And then you pay him the compensation of that which you cut off. A unique process that we'll deal with, I believe, in Gemara Bava Basra. No, excuse me. The end of this Masechta, that one wants to save the bees. So we see you're allowed to go into the field of your friend and do such. Why? V'tanai bezdinu. Excuse me. V'tanai bezdinu. And this was a condition of Bezdin. No, incorrect. Let's read this properly. One more time. And furthermore, that one person comes over with a barrel of wine, has to pour out his wine in order to save the devash, the honey of his friend. And you pay the value of the wine. And number 3, that this one has to, if he has a bundle of wood, he has to unload his wood and load it up with the flax, and you pay him back. And these 3 things teaches Rabbi Yishmael to save the bees, to save the honey, and to save the flax. Yeshua settled Eretz Yisrael. So we have 4 different conditions that the Gemara is bothered. Why weren't they listed amongst the 10 conditions that Yeshua settled the land? Explains the Gemara, we're not discussing Yechidim, meaning, yes, Rabbi Yehuda holds this. Yes, Rabbi Yishal ben Oishel ben Broika holds this. However, this is not the widespread opinion, and that is the reason why it was not listed. Our ones that we listed, the Tanaim of Yeshua, were that which were held upon by everyone, and these were not. And with that, we turn over to Beibei Zaman Aleph, and the Gemara continues to ask, Ravin came, and he said in the name of Rav Yechanan, whether one has a tree that's leaning over, extending into the field of his friend, or whether one has a free that is near the boundary, the owner is allowed to bring bikurim from these fruits, and he recites the psukim of bikurim. Why? So we see another case that Yeshua, another stipulation that Yeshua made, and not just the 10 that we spoke about. Says the Gemara, it's true. After this question, the Gemara concedes that yes, indeed, the reason that we listed the 10 of the Mishnah, Ella, Man Tana Asara, who is the opinion in our Mishnah that said Asara tonight Yeshua was Yeshua ben Levi, who this was the Yeshua ben Levi, and therefore some of the cases indeed were not listed. Another answer, Rav Gavia mi Beiksel Masila Behedya. Rav Gavia mi Beiksel actually wrote this part of the Mishnah. Rav Tancha v'Abiris Am Yimishum Zakin Echad Omano Rav Shimon Levi Asar Tanayim Hisna Yeshua. Meaning they actually had the girsa, they had the dictum that this din was a din, that our din of the Asar Tanayim was indeed the opinion of Rav Yeshua ben Levi. However, Rav Avin Amar Rav Yechon could indeed have another condition. And with that, we move over to part B of today's year. So part B was really wrapping up the previous year, in which on Pei Aleph we listed the Asara Tanayim of Yeshua. We asked today another 5 potential cases. Finally, the Gemara at some level has to concede that our Mishnah is only the opinion of Rav Yeshua ben Levi. Continues the Gemara after listening to the Sarah Tanayim of Yeshua when he entered into Eretz Yisrael. Continues the Gemara 10 lines down at the 2 dots. Asara Takana Istikein Ezra Shekare Asara Takana Shetikin Ezra. Once we're on the 10s, we go into 10 Takanais that Ezra made when he led the Yidden from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael. And what were they? Number 1, Sheikarim b'mincha b'Shabbos, Yulein mincha on Shabbos. Number 2, V'karim b'Sheni v'Chamishi, Yulein on Monday and Thursday. Number 3, V'danim b'Sheni v'Chamishi, the Tidinim were open on Monday and Thursday. U'mechabsin b'Chamishi b'Shabbos, you do laundry on Friday. Number 4, V'oichlin shom b'Erev Shabbos, you eat garlic on Erev Shabbos. Number 5, Teisha mashkemes v'oifet, and that a woman should get up early. Number 6, and bake. And number 7, a woman should wear some sort of belt type of situation. Number 8, she scrubs before she goes to the mikvah. Number 9, the peddlers should go around in the town, meet with perfumes. And number 10, the 10 Takanais of Ezra, which as now we're going to go through each of the 10, but these are actually, we find throughout Shas different references of these 10. So says the Gemara, number 1, Sheikarim b'mincha b'Shabbos, Sheikarim b'mincha b'Shabbos. Condition number 1 was that they lane at Shabbos mincha. Says the Gemara, what is the reason? Misham Yoshvei Karanis. For the shopkeepers that are not able to come to shul throughout the week, so we made Kriyas HaTorah and Mincha and Shabbos so they could hear it. Number 2, Sheikarim b'Sheni v'Chamishi, that they shall lay on Monday and Thursday. Ask the Gemara, Ezra Tikein, what do you mean? What do you mean that it was Ezra? It was already a takana prior to Ezra. Titania. We learned in our Brayis and they traveled 3 days in the desert of Pasuk in Shemais v'lamatzu mayim, and they did not find water. I think this is actually next week's parsha. Darshei Rishumais Amru, those who expound Psukim explain 5 lines from the white lines. Ein mayim ela Taira. She'enamar have it called Samei over thirsty l'chul l'mayim, go to the water. Kiman sha'alchu shleishes yamim b'lei Taira. Since they traveled 3 days to Al-Taira, Nalu, what happened was, since they traveled to Nalu, they became exhausted. Amdu Nevi'im Shabineim, the Nevi'im got up, they take Nulam, Sheikarim B'Shabbos, and they were mitakein that they should read the Torah on Shabbos, Umafsikim Becha B'Shabbos, and not read on Sunday. Furthermore, they were mitakein on the first wide line, V'Karim B'Sheni, they were laying on Monday, Umafsikim B'Shlishi, and not on Tuesday. or Revi or Wednesday. V'karim b'chamishi, they were laying on Thursday, matzikim b'erev Shabbos. Why? Why do they lay in Shabbos, Monday and Thursday, Kidei, so that? And the second line, Shal Yalinu Gimel Yamim B'lai Teira, should never be 3 days without Teira. So what do we see? We see that the Takana to lane on Monday and Thursdays was indeed a Gezerah that predated Ezra. Answers the Gemara indeed. Meikara Tiknu, originally they are Mitakin Chag Gavra Talasab Psuki. The original was Takana was one person, Shalin 3 psukim inami, or else Tilsa Gavri Tilsa Psuki. Or 3 people would read 3 psukim, Keneged Ukhan Levim V'Yisraelim. Asa Iu on the 4th line, Ezra. HaSeifer came along and who tikain? Tlasa Gavri V'Asara Psuki. Kineged Asara Batzlanim, corresponding to the Asara Batzlanim, the 10 people who every town should have supporting a kailel of 10 men who don't work and rather sit and learn and daven for the sake of the entire community. So yes, were there lanings prior to Ezra? Indeed. However, the takana that we have, that 3 people, 10 psukim, that was from Ezra. And continues the Gemara. The 3rd takana of Ezra was what? Vidanim. And the Batidinim should be open by Monday, B'Sheni, B'Chamishi. Explains the Gemara. Why? The reason it is because it was common. People would come to hear laning due to this second takana. Once they're coming to hear laning, they opened up the Batidinim in case anyone had a din Torah. Why? This one's easy. Why are you doing laundry on Thursday and not after? Mishom Kavod Shabbos. This is where it comes from. Then in reality, one is not supposed to do laundry on a Friday. A psak brought down in Shulchan Aruch. However, there are some who are mekel, because nowadays laundry with a machine and whatnot. But there certainly is a maila within the Kavod Shabbos to do everything not on a Friday and prior. But of course, if you need it for Shabbos, etc., there are hetirim. Continues the Gemara on the 6th line. She oichlin shom be'erev Shabbos. She garlic on erev Shabbos. Now it is interesting, as we'll comment, that it says erev Shabbos. Explains the Gemara mishum aina. Why? Because of the mitzvah of aina, the intimate relations between husband and wife. That the pasuk says Yitain be'itai, that the pasuk says, like a tree that yields its fruit in the proper time. Am Rav Yehuda v'Teimer, Rav Nachman v'Teimer, Rav Kana v'Teimer, Rav Yechnan. What is the pasuk? What is be'itai? Zameshamish v'Itasim Erev Shabbos. Erev Shabbos referring to Talmidei Chachamim that are together, husband and wife, on Friday nights. Tanu Rabbanan, continues the Gemara, Chamisha Dvarim Namru B'Sham. There are 5 mailos, 5 wonderful things about Shom, and this is the reason, just to point out, I said that why would it be an Erev Shabbos? Sounds like it's before Shabbos. However, many, Yam Shel Shaima, the Rambam and others, comment this means Leil Shabbos. But says the Gemara, there are 5 things that they say about Shom. Number 1, Masbiyah, it satiates. Number 2 is Mishachin, it warms the body. Number 3, Umatzil Panim, it brightens the face. Number 4, Amar Bezerah, it increases the semen. And number 5, Ahire Kinim, it kills Kinim, Shavimei Ma'ayim, parasites in the intestines, V'yishaimrim. And some say Machlis Ahava, Moitzis Akina. Some say it instills love and eliminates Kinah, and this is the reason why Ezra was mitaking to have garlic. And this is where Minig Yisrael Taira, many people have garlic, some don't even know. But the reason originally was so that to increase the zera for those who are together, Erev Shabbos, the Erev Shabbos. Continues the Gemara, we're on Takana number 6 of Ezra. We are 5 lines from the bottom. A woman should get up early and she should bake. Says the Gemara, why? So that there should be always fresh bread in the house found for the poor. And so this is actually referring to daily. This has nothing to do with Shabbos. A woman should daily have fresh bread. So when someone comes knocking on the door, there's fresh bread to give the ani. Continues the Gemara, what's the reason that she's wearing this sinar, this belt-like item? Explains the Gemara, Misham Siniusa, it's a form of Modesty, it's a form of tznius. And number 8, it says the Gemara, Sheisha chayfefes v'toiveles, pertinent during the times of Shaivavim, how as many Chazer el Chasnida, we learn over here, the original Makar, for Chafifa, a woman has to scrub her body before she goes to the mikvah. Says the Gemara, Sheisha chofefes v'toiveles. I apologize, I just noticed that we have a little bit of a line on our screen. Nope, that didn't take care of it. One more second. There we go. That's a little bit better. Sheisha chavevas v'toiveles, 3 lines to the bottom. Says the Gemara, Daraisi. What do you mean that it's a takana of Ezra? Setin Daraisa detanya vrachzes v'sara b'mayim. She should wash her flesh with water, and for your real natural day, davar chaytes bein b'sara lemayim. You're not allowed to have any chatzitzas, any interpositions, anything blocking between the body and the water when one goes into the mikvah. Es b'sarai, we learn out es atafel b'sarai. Umayniu, what's that? Sar, that the hair can't have chatzitza as well. So I asked the Gemara, what do you mean that Ezra was mitakin? We see this was a din daraisa. Answers the Gemara, Amri daraisa liyune. Midaraisa, one just has to do iyon, one has to examine the body, examine the hair. Dilmar mikdar, perhaps there'll be a knot, inami maos, or inami ma'aves midi, or perhaps the body will be a little bit dirty. Mishom chatzitza. Then there would be a chatzitza. So what did Ezra do? That's the din daraisa. And as we turn over to Beis explains the Gemara of Asa Ihu and Tikein Chafifa. Meaning, in the world of the Torah, in the world of Daraisa, there was not a need for a woman to do a Chafifa. You have to check. And if your body is clean, if there is no Chatzitzas, everything is fine. Ezra came along and was attacking for a woman to do Chafifa, to scrub the body. And as the Tab Rashi says, Badavka on the hair, b'masrik with a comb. Why? La'archaka de milsa, to make sure that everything is appropriate. Continues the Gemara on the top line of Pei Beis Amid Beis, Takana number 9 of Ezra, She'yiroichlan machzirim ba'yarais, that the peddlers should be going around in the city. Says the Gemara, what was this Takana? Mishum tachshite nashim, selling perfumes and other adornments for a woman, shlo yitkanu al ba'leihem, so that they don't become despised, disgusted to their husbands. And number 10, v'tikein tefillah labali kroyim. Ezra's mitakin that a balkari, anyone that has a seminal emissions, anyone, even if it was, we'll see, and we've learned, even beheter, as we learned to the Gemara in Brachais, but the takana that any time that Zerah leaves the man's body, he has to go to the mikvah. Ask the Gemara 4 lines down, Beis Beis. Daraisu, what do you mean that's a din daraisa? Tersev, as the Torah says, v'ishki teitzi menu shechva Zerah. And then what's the follow-up? Brachas b'sarei b'mayim. He has to wash the body in water. Answers the Gemara, Daraisu le'chuma v'kachim. It's true. Midaraisa is only for chuma and kachim. Also, who Ezra came along as tikin atfilu ledivrei Torah, even just for midday, or even just to learn Torah. Continues the Gemara. So we had the 10 Tanaim of Yeshua. We had the 10 Takanas of Ezra. And now continues the Gemara. Asara Devarim Nemru B'Yerushalayim. 10 things that are said about Yerushalayim. Number 1, Ein Habayis Chaylet. A house is never permanently sold in Yerushalayim. But number 2, Ve'ena Mevi Egla Arufa. There's no din of Egla Arufa. Number 3, Ve'ena Nasis Ir Nilches. It can never become an Ir Nidachas. Number 4, Ve'ena Metam Ben Negayim. There's no din of Thomas Negayim Saras. Number 5, Ve'ena Motzia Bazizin because Charais. And there's no extension of beams and balconies. Number 6, you can't make garbage dumps. We already saw the one of the precedents of this at the beginning of this year today. Number 7, cannot make kilns items for pottery. Number 8, Upardesais, Chotzmi, Gagais, Uvradim, Shaim Masdevim, Rishani, now to create new gardens aside from that which are on for the original Levium. Number 9, Vein Megalabatar and Golim, you can't raise pigeons. Number 10, Vein Molin Esa Mace, we're not allowed to leave over a mace overnight in Yerushalayim. Obviously, the original Makar, why in Yerushalayim Adayim Ezeh, they're so makbid to bury even in the middle of the night. Says the Gemara, let's go through these 10 entities of Yerushalayim. Number one, ein habayis cholot ba. A house is never sold forever in Yerushalayim. Dichsev, about 15 lines down, the first one line is bayis. Dichsev, akama bayis eshaloi chayma litzmitzos l'koina isai l'deireisav. Says the pasuk, the house that has a wall shall pass it perpetually to one who purchased it, l'deireisav, for his generations. V'kasavar, and we hold, Loi nischaklu Yishalayim, the Shvatim Yishalayim was never apportioned to the Shvatim, and therefore the sale will never be permanent. Number two, what was it? Veina mevia egla rufa. There's no din of egla rufa in Yishalayim. Says the Gemara, how do we know this? It says in the pasuk, Ki yamatze chalal ba'adama, you find the corpse on the ground that Hashem gave l'rishta, Hashem gave you as a Yerusha, and explains the Gemara, Yerushalayim lo nischaklu l'shvatim, was never really given as a Yerusha, and therefore there's no din of egla arufa. Number three, ve'inoi nases ir nidachas. Yerushalayim can never become ir nidachas. Explains the Gemara why. The pasuk says, arich V'Yushalayim lo nischaklu l'shvatim. As pasuk says, excuse me, I read that like a turkey. One more time. Tersev arecha. The pasuk says your cities Yushalayim lo nischaklu l'shvatim, and therefore cannot be made into an ir hani dachas. Number four says the Gemara ve'ina mitame. It cannot be mitame tumas negayim. Again, just to mention ir nidachas, you can look at Rashi. Is any if the majority of the inhabitants are oived of a desire, etc. Number four, where do we see this from? Tersev, as the pasuk says, V'nasati nega tzaras bebeis eretz achuzaschem. And again, Yerushalayim lo nischaklu l'shvatim, as we're seeing the common theme over here from the fact Yerushalayim is not considered a recha, it's not considered that the shvatim own it. Therefore, all these dinim that need personal ownership do not exist. Number five, Vein motziin zizin v'guztarois. There's no din of these balconies and extended beams in Yerushalayim, says the Gemara. What's this? Mibnei, because of oyhel atoma. We do not want to proliferate and have extra toma in Yerushalayim. Umisham delay litzigu oili regalim. So therefore, overhangs will not transmit toma in Yerushalayim. And number seven, ve'in oisin. Number six, ve'in oisin v'yashbatais. Why? Misham shkatzim. Therefore, we don't want to have again because of tama. Vein oiseh by kivshanais, the kilns. Misham kutra, too much smoke. Vein oiseh by gagus varnesim. Why? Misham sircha, because it smells bad. Vein oisin sa, vein migadlin. Vein migadlin. We'll see in a moment what sircha is. Rashi is two pshatim. But one more moment. Vein migadlin by tarnigolim. Why? Misham kachim. Vamelinim by samei, says the Gemara. Gemara Sinai, that in Yerushalayim one has to be makbid not to leave over a dead body, a corpse, overnight. Those were the 10 entities of Yerushalayim. Let's take one moment to learn what is this sircha that the Ganois and the Pardesim could bring. Says Rashi, sirchain asavim rav nagdilim sham bezarkim bachot v'ayderach gagos l'zvalim v'yesh sirchan. Either it's due to the fertilizer or it's due to the grasses, etc., inside the garden. Continues the Gemara, commenting on one last thing on the Mishnah, and what this will conclude. On the last medium narrow line, you're never allowed to raise chazirin, pigs. Explains the Gemara in the first white line, when the people from the house of the Chashmonaim fought against one another, there was a clash between Hyrcanus and Asturblus. And every day they would lower down money, and they would give them the animal for the carbon tamid. There was one elderly person understood the wisdom of the Greeks. Told them, listen, as long as they're going to bring their karbanos, the siege will last forever. You'll never defeat them. They gave them the money, and what happened? And they gave them a pig. The pig dug his fingers into the wall, and it caused Eretz Yisrael to shake. Arba meos paris alaber meos paris abaisa shamru. And that moment they said, Orura ish, 3 lines to the bottom, Shekid Chazirim. Adam Shilmas B'nai Chachos Yavanis. Number one, it's a curse to one who has pigs. Number two, he who teaches his children Yavanis. Valaisa Shashaninu Maisa Shaba Oimer Migana Mi Ganais Atzrifim Shtelechem Ibikas Ain Soicher. Says the Gemara, and at that moment, Oisa Isha, you know what else happened the year of the siege? The Oimer came from Gagois Serifim, which was a certain place. And number two was came from Ein Seicher, a certain spring, which was not the right place for the Karban Omer. Two different issues that happened in the year of the siege. And we'll pick it up over here for the Chachmas Yavanis the next year, B'siyata Dishmaya.